Everybody. Let's move on then to the minutes from December 17th.
Mr. Chairperson, I, Gary Yisrael, make a motion to accept the minutes from the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals for December 17th, 2024, as presented this evening.
Thank you, Gary. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Peter Fox, second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Let's move on to committee and staff report and then the potential development report.
We have no updates at this time for either items.
Okay.
Mr. Chairperson, I make a motion to recess the Planning Commission and convene the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you, Gary.
I'll second.
Second by Marla. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Let's now move on to agenda item 5.1. We would like to welcome everyone and lay out a few ground rules which will apply to our hearing tonight. No, I'm sorry, I'm backwards. Apologize. I now call agenda item 5.1, which is a public hearing on case BZA-CU 24-0003. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask, I think I'm off here again, aren't I, guys? Did I? Looks backwards. Okay, sorry about that. I apologize. It's been a couple months, I guess. Well, we'd like to welcome everyone and lay out a few ground rules which will apply to each public hearing held tonight. It's important that you present any facts or views you have as evidence so that an informed recommendation can be made by the Planning Commission to the governing body for their final decision. By state statute, the governing body does not have to hold additional public hearing on these matters, although they may listen to whomever they wish. You will be asked if there is any new information which was not heard at these hearings. It is to everyone's advantage if you present all and necessary information at these hearings. For each case, after the city zoning administrator provides the commission with background information, I will call upon each applicant. Public comments will be heard following the applicant. Once all have been heard, the applicant will have an opportunity for final comments. The Planning Commission will close the hearings to public comments and then will consider the 14 factors on which to base the recommendation. During this time, the commission may direct questions to the applicant, the public, and/or city staff. You should be aware that the Planning Commission can recommend that the site be platted or replatted if necessary, and that a site plan may be required for approval. You should be aware that any uses permitted outright in a district by the regulations can receive a zoning permit. Furthermore, if the applicant chooses to describe various features of their development plans, the city can only enforce those provisions which are covered in city and other zoning codes. Anyone wishing to speak must be recognized by the chairperson and give their name and address. Please use the podium to speak clearly so your comments can be recorded for inclusion into our minutes. Official notices for these hearings were published on the City of Andover Municipal website on December 28th, 2024, and notices were mailed to the applicant and all real property owners of record in the areas of notification on December 27th, 2024. The record shows at least 20 days has elapsed between the publication and mailing dates and the hearing date. Unless there is evidence to the contrary from anyone present, I will declare that the proper notification has been given. Although we do not encourage such communications, I will ask the commission if any have received any ex parte verbal or written communications prior to these hearings, which they would like to share.
None.
Is the layout a little bit different than normal?
Well, I think what you're doing right now is you're doing a general statement for all the items we might do instead
Okay,
of.
it seems
doing
different
for
than we
each.
often do. It just, something seemed different. Okay,
What you
Help.
missed were some meetings where we had 9 public hearings, so we condensed that all into
okay.
stating it once rather than having to read
Okay.
it for each case.
Well, when I was preparing for today, the full documentation, I believe, was on every one. And so with the summary, it really kind of threw me off. Anyway, I got you now. All right. I now call agenda item 5.1, which is a public hearing on case BZA-CU 24-0003. Before we proceed with the hearing, I'll ask the commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they or a relative own property in the area of notification or have conflicts of interest.
No.
None.
I now call on the city zoning administrator, David Westfall, to provide us with a report on this case.
Thank you very much. Just as a reminder, this case was continued from our previous meeting in December. It's currently zoned B3 Retail and Service Business District and is one of the two tenant slots that are part of this property. The applicant here is looking to have a patio seating area as an accessory to the restaurant. Restaurants are outright permitted in this zoning district, but they would be looking to add this in addition. Just finally of note, the applicant is also seeking to arrange for off-site parking with the adjacent property of Walgreens to meet the minimum off-street parking requirements, which is still pending. If you have any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions?
And David, you said that they're looking at using parking at Walgreens. Has there been communication between them and Walgreens, and what has come up between them?
If there is, they have not particularly shared that with us. The applicant may have more
Okay.
input there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll now call upon the applicant to make his or her presentation on the request and any response to the zoning administrator's report. If you would state your name and address, that would be great.
My name is David Allen. I live at 7322 Winterberry in Wichita. Right now, we have not, I've been in contact with Walgreens, but I have come to a brick wall with getting a hold of the right person to talk to because they want to pawn it off on district manager who was supposed to contact me and go from there. At this point, we have lowered the square footage in the building on the plans to accommodate for the parking that we do have at this point. The patio, as you can see, it's pretty small. We're gonna have 4 tables, 8 chairs, and just enough seating out there for a couple people if they want to eat outside versus being inside.
Just like Bella Luna, according to the picture.
Yeah, a little bit smaller than Bella Luna.
Sure. Any questions?
I do want to clarify, you guys are just approving the conditional use to allow for the patio here, and the parking will be a separate case that will happen in the future. So you're not doing anything related to that at this point.
Thank you. I do have one question, Mr. Allen. So you're leasing this space in that building, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I noticed, you're gonna put up a little fence around the outdoor seating.
Yes,
And I imagine that's either gonna be attached to the ground or to the pillars or
it's going to
both?
be attached to the ground.
Okay. And the owner of the facility, of the building, they're okay with you
Yes,
adding
sir.
that? Okay,
We've
Thank you.
also got the okay from him, which we're also checking on. There's some grassed area back in the back that we had talked about in the original site meeting of using it for possible parking. We actually have somebody from Wichita that's going to come out the next couple weeks to look at it and see if it's feasible.
yeah.
Any additional questions? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public that would like to speak? Have any written communications been received?
No, sir.
Okay,
I do have a question.
sure.
Did we go out and look at the property to address the other consumer's concern about the condition of the fence in the back?
We've had numerous code cases regarding that screening fence and lighting on the back of the property that the property owner has addressed at this point.
Okay. I was just trying to get a response on a neighbor actually came up and spoke last time and said this fence is in really bad repair. So,
Yes, the posts have rotted off in some places and the owners had to go in and replace posts.
thanks.
Oh, I have a question for staff. If they do, and I know parking's not part of it, but if they are allowed to do parking in the back, if that's allowable and accessible and everything, That'll have to go to site planning because it'll need lighting for the parking lot, correct?
Correct. Those matters on the required parking are with the site plan review committee now, and the staff as to compliance with the required parking.
Okay. Just wanted to get get that answered for myself.
Any other questions?
How many seats are going to be in the place right now?
Right around 64.
64. Thank you.
Anything else you guys like to state? No? All right. Hearing no further public comments, I hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no more public comments unless the board wishes to ask questions to clarify the information. The board will now deliberate the request to determine whether the evidence presented supports the conclusions of the required findings of fact. The board will now consider the criteria provided for evaluation.
Would you like me to read that?
That'd be great, Gary. Thank you.
Okay. Does the evidence support the conclusion that, number one, the proposed conditional use complies with all applicable regulations, including lot size requirements, bulk regulations, use limitations, and performance standards, unless a concurrent application is in process for a variance? Staff has commented, yes. Concur.
Concur.
Number two, the proposed conditional use will not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood. Staff has commented, staff anticipates no such negative effects.
Concur.
Concur.
Number three, the location and size of the conditional use, the nature and intensity of the operation involved in or conducted in connection with it, and the location of the site with respect to streets giving access to it are such that the conditional use will not dominate the immediate neighborhood so as to prevent development and use of neighboring property in accordance with the applicable zoning district regulations in determining whether the conditional use will so dominate the immediate neighborhood. Consideration shall be given to A, the location, nature, size, and height of building, structures, walls, and fences on the site, and B, the nature and extent of the landscaping and screening on the site. Staff has commented, the requested conditional use will not dominate the immediate neighborhood or prevent development of the surrounding area.
Concur.
Concur.
Number four, off-street parking and loading areas will be provided in accordance with the standards set forth in Article 5 of these regulations. Such areas will be screened from adjoining residential uses and located so as to protect such residential uses from injurious effects. Staff has commented, yes.
Concur.
Concur. Number five,
I'm not so sure we can concur with that yet. Do we know what the off-seat parking is going to be?
Yes, we have a plan in review now that reduces the occupancy of the restaurant
Right.
to equal the amount of parking that's available.
So that'd be about 30 spots then, at 64 seats with 4 employees.
I don't have those calculations right on the tip of my tongue, but they have matched their occupancy to the available spaces.
and if they were to receive permission from Walgreens or be able to have parking behind, then they could increase the size, the number of seats inside the restaurant.
Correct.
Thank you. I
Well, we-
concur.
Okay. Number 5, adequate utility, drainage, and other such necessary facilities have been installed or will be provided by plating, dedications, and/or guarantees. Staff has commented, yes, all are currently in place.
Concur.
And number 6, adequate access roads, entrance and exit drives and/or access control is available or will be provided by plating, dedications, and/or guarantees, and shall be designed to prevent traffic hazards and to minimize traffic congestion in public streets and roads. Staff has commented, yes.
Concur.
Concur.
Thank you, Gary. Is there a motion to either approve, modify and approve, disapprove, or table the discussion?
I can read it if you like.
It's up to you. We got to have which points were a part of it also. So which conditions are a part of it? 2, 3, 4, 5. I can make the motion. Go ahead, go for it. Go, Dan. I didn't know if you were ready.
In front of me. I got it in front of me. so-
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I apologize. yeah,
Having
go
considered
for
the
it.
evidence at the hearing and determined that the findings of fact have been found to exist that support all 6 conditions set out in subsection 11-107C of the zoning regulations, I, Dan Colson, move that the chairperson be authorized to sign a resolution granting the conditional use for case number BZA CU 24-0003 as requested.
I, Gary Israel, second the motion.
All right, we have a motion, a second. Do we have, please say aye for approval.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thanks, Dan. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
A resolution will be prepared and made available to the applicant as soon as reasonably possible, but no later than 45 days from the date of this hearing. If anyone is aggrieved by this decision, a further appeal can be made to the district court to determine its reasonableness within 30 days after the resolution is signed and filed with the zoning administrator. All right, let's move on to 5.2. I now call agenda item 5.2, which is a public hearing on case BZA-V24-0008. Before we proceed with this hearing, I'll ask the commission members if any of them intend to disqualify themselves from participating in this case because they or a relative own property in the area of notification or have conflicts of interest.
No.
I now call upon the city zoning administrator, David Westfall, to provide us with a report on this case.
Thank you very much. This will look fairly similar to a lot of these other variances that we've had in appeared before you recently. In fact, it's in the same PUD. The property is zoned SF1, which is low density residential neighborhoods. And the applicant is seeking a variance of 760 square feet from the 500 square foot maximum for the floor area of an accessory structure, as well as a 260 square foot variance from the 1,000 square feet total maximum of all accessory structures that are permitted by the UDM. The subject property is nearly 2 acres located in a neighborhood where such accessory structures are very common. And staff sees no reason to not grant the requested variance pending the outcome of this hearing.
Thank you. I guess the applicant must not be here.
Mr. Chairperson, they let me know that they might be able to make it, and it seems like no. So I guess they had a scheduling conflict.
Okay, the Martine, you mean? Or the homeowner? Okay. Are there any members of the public who'd like to speak then? Guess not. Any written communication been received?
Nope.
Hearing no further public comments, I hereby close the public portion of the hearing. There will be no further public comments unless the board wishes to ask questions to clarify the information. The board will now deliberate the request to determine whether evidence presented supports the conclusions of the findings of fact. The board will now consider the criteria provided for evaluation. Is this it's hard for me to see. Is this an enclosed structure or more of a, like a pergola style? We have an idea what that? I see water heater, which makes me think I guess there is a bathroom in there.
Yeah, it would appear to be a closed structure.
I believe it's closed on 3-4 sides. There is a kind of an open patio, it appears, on
Okay.
the right side of that drawing that's up on the screen.
I actually know the owners, but I did not know they were doing this. Looks nice.
And I would imagine that they have to take this before their HOA and get approval on the architectural.
I would think so
Like
down there.
we've had with every case out in Flint Hills.
Yeah. I would think so. Thank you. Would anyone like to read the findings?
I'll be happy to.
Great.
Does the evidence demonstrate that the physical surrounding shape and topography of the property would result in a practical difficulty as distinguished from a mere inconvenience for the owner, lessee, or occupant? Staff. The property is over 3 times the minimum lot area required for the underlying zoning district. As well, it is an unusual shape and would result in an underutilized amount of property to be utilized.
Concur.
Concur.
Number 2, granting the variance will result in material detriment or injury to the property or improvements in the neighborhood. Staff, no detriment and/or injury to the property or improvements is anticipated.
Concur.
Number 3, granting the variance will result in an inadequate supply of light to or air to adjacent property, substantially increased traffic congestion, increased fire risk, or substantially diminished property values in the neighborhood. Staff, no adverse effects are anticipated.
Concur.
Number 4, the request for a variance is not based exclusively on a desire of the homeowner, lessee, occupant, or applicant to make more money out of the property. Staff, the applicant does not have a motivation to make money out of the property through the request of this variance. It is to allow a structure to be used as a pool house.
Concur.
Concur.
Specific conditions to be met. The requested variance arises from a condition unique to the property in question, which is not ordinarily found in the same zoning district and which was not created by any action of the property owner or the applicant. Staff. The subject property is generally larger than other comparable square foot single-family one housing sites. Comparing it to a smaller lot that might comply with the 500 square foot maximum for accessory structures, it would have a comparable impact on the maximum lot coverage as what is being requested.
Concur.
Number 2, the strict application of the provisions of the zoning regulations would result in unnecessary hardship for the owner, lessee, or occupant of the land or structure. Staff. Strict application of the provisions in this case would result in some unnecessary hardship for the owner, given the size of the lot and what is being requested.
Concur.
3, granting the variance will not adversely affect the rights of the adjacent property owners or residents. Staff. No adverse effects are anticipated.
Concur.
Number 4, the requested variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. No adverse effects are anticipated.
Concur.
The requested variance will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of these zoning regulations. Staff, because the requested variance will still allow the subject property to comply with the maximum lot coverage specified for this zoning district in the bulk regulations, it is not in opposition to the general spirit and intent of the zoning regulations.
Concur.
Concur. Thank you. Thank you. Is there a motion to either approve, modify, and approve, disapprove, or table the discussion? I can make it. Having considered the evidence at the hearing and determined that the findings of fact have been found to exist that support all 5 conditions set out in subsection 11-106.2B2 of the zoning regulations and KSA 12-759E, I, Vance Garwood, move that the chairperson be authorized to sign a resolution granting the variance for case number BZA-V24-0008 as requested.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. The resolution will be prepared and made available to the applicant as soon as reasonably possible, excuse me, but no later than 45 days from the date of this hearing. If anyone is aggrieved by this decision, a further appeal can be made to the district court to determine its reasonableness within 30 days after the resolution is signed and filed with the zoning administrator.
Mr. Chairperson, I make a motion to adjourn the Board of Zoning Appeals and reconvene the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Gary.
Second.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Any member items?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals for January 21, 2025.
Thank you, Gary. We have a motion, a second, and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We're adjourned.
Oh, I got my fancy pen.